Hey everybody, and we are live. Good to see you all. Tonight is going to be exciting. Sorry I can't get my other camera working for some odd reason today. Really odd stuff. But it's good to see you. We are joined by PJ and Derek. Hope you guys are doing well. I just got to probably have to get that up. And we are joined by Chris Conley as well. Hello.
Oh, good, Lisa.
So you guys,
greetings, everyone.
Are you guys ready for this debate review? This should be exciting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you guys know about Lennox?
No, what is actually...
Don't you know?
All right, yeah, can science explain everything? Well, no, it can't, because it can't explain, like Michael said in the chat, and I was thinking the same, can't explain supernatural, you know? It can't explain God.
Yeah, but I'm asking, do you know, have you ever watched any debates and discussions from John Lennox?
No, I don't think
I
so.
have. but
He's
just,
very,
briefly,
he's obviously the
not
late,
entirety.
yeah, he's obviously the late John Lennox now because he's not with us anymore, but he really had a way, excuse me, of answering very complicated questions.
Okay.
So he was a very good Christian apologist.
So, yeah, Professor John Lennox is our man, then?
Yeah, he's the guy with the Bible there. And then obviously Professor Atkins, he's a well-known atheist professor. So he's talking against the Bible. So...
Isn't it weird? He looks a little bit like Richard Dawkins.
Don't they all? He looks a bit more flattering on this thumbnail though.
Yeah.
But yeah. I haven't watched it yet, so it's going to be exciting. Michael just asked, can we just maybe review this one, because he says it will be very good to review.
Nice.
Right on.
Excuse me. Wow. So appreciate everybody coming. Guys, please hit the likes, share the show. And I appreciate you all. And let's get into it. Very exciting stuff.
John and Peter, thank you very much for joining me. Before we get into the question of the evening, a little introduction to you both. Peter, you've been a scientist pretty much all your life. Do you find that that's gone hand in hand with your atheism, as it were, throughout your life?
Oh yes, without doubt. I mean, science is so powerful that it shows that all the ancient traditional ideas derived from religion are OTOs, unnecessary. And so science is a wonderful way of explaining the world. And I think we humans should be delighted that we have brains sufficient to unravel the secrets of the universe and discover the fabric of reality. It adds joy to the beauty that we're surrounded by.
Would you say you've always been a non-believer in that sense, or was there ever a point at which you did have any glimmer of faith in your life?
As a child, I was sent to church by my parents, because in those days parents wanted children out of the way for bits of Sunday.
Yeah. I don't know. I used to hear a lot of that. I don't know if you guys heard about that. And I've even seen it even today. A lot of times I see, like, I go to church or whatever, and the parents just drop the children off and then they go. I mean that's not the way to do it.
No. I mean, I never, as a kid, I never went to Sunday school. I know people that went to Sunday school. I never did. So on a Sunday, I mean, I didn't go to church. I was at home watching sport with my dad or out playing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that, like, how is that a showing role model to your children if you want them to go to church, but you don't want to go to church yourself?
No, it's not.
You know what I mean? That's not the way to do it.
No.
And I don't think they realize that there are consequences to that kind of thing as well. It does kind of make people have a different type of viewpoint on things.
Yeah.
Obviously,
But
yeah.
did he say something about science is powerful.
Yeah.
Science.
Remember, he's an
Well,
atheist, so he's all
Yeah.
based on naturalistic.
Yeah, of course. So
things.
science to him is God.
Practically,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But as soon as I got to university and started to think for myself, I could see that religion was a fraud.
Right.
What?
Well, I'm looking forward to engaging with you on the
That's
subject.
also one thing I've seen. Have you not seen how many people go to universities and then they lose their faith most of the time?
They do. I mean,
Quite a bit, yes.
indoctrinated out of them. Absolutely.
And though I didn't quite hear that. What did he say was a fraud?
Religion.
Religion.
Oh, well, I mean, that's kind of ironic considering he's pursuing a religion of his own making.
Thanks. Right.
Hmm.
So yeah, obviously they haven't started the debate yet. We'll get to the debate now, but I just thought it would be cool to watch this part probably, just to give their thoughts and stuff.
Subject tonight. John, a little bit of background to yourself. You grew up in a faith environment, but not one which was unquestioning in a sense.
I grew up, as you can now tell, in Northern Ireland, and it was a faith environment. If you mean by that, my parents were Christians. I think, by the way, all people are people of faith. Atheists have their beliefs. I have my belief, but I was encouraged to think, and for me, Christianity was, in a sense, one of the inspirations to do science. So I'm very different from Peter in that respect. I join him, though, in celebrating the wonder of science. And in fact, Peter's books have been amazing to help me understand lots of stuff I didn't understand before. By the way, he's written 3 times as many books as I have. So listen to him 3 times more carefully than you listen to me. But I've always had this strong relationship between belief in God as one kind of explanation of our universe and life, and science as another kind which complements it.
Well, we have a question under discussion tonight, and it seems appropriate to begin by asking you both the question, can science explain everything? Perhaps we could start with you, Peter.
Yeah, well, I'm not a politician, so I'll give you a straight answer. The answer is yes.
There you had it. The answer is yes.
I would say no to that.
That's quite a
Absolutely.
claim.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, like with Globers, how they can explain all kinds of stuff, but can they prove it?
Right.
Yeah, if you look at it that way, it's a different.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, the question, moreover, should be: can science prove everything? The answer is definitely not.
Definitely not.
Yeah, but I mean, science is there to explain how things
Yeah.
work. So if he's saying
Yeah.
yes by default, he's saying science kind of proves everything.
But
In a
it's
colloquial
used
sense.
to explain things in a physical, natural world.
Mhm.
You know, not in the supernatural. It can't explain.
But it's like even if they do explain everything from like their so-called scientific point of view, and does that not by default require amounts of faith?
Yes,
Mhm.
still is.
Right.
Look, the scientific method is just.
It can't.
Yeah, sorry.
It can't explain what gravity is, though.
That's
Can't
the
explain what
thing.
gravity.
It can infer. Okay, so it can infer and say, okay, gravity is the cause for why things fall down, but it can't prove that that is the cause.
No.
And as we've stated this many times before, we've never seen anybody actually manipulate gravity.
No.
So, but there's many holes in the way they use their belief system in science, you could say. And science is not supposed to have any belief system. Otherwise, it's pseudoscience.
That's right.
Right. And so that's what often happens is that they'll call gravity science, but there's nothing really scientific behind it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
No.
That's the error. Yeah.
There's a lot of
Of course, it
pseudoscience,
hasn't
like
yet
they'll use.
explained.
Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, like pseudoscience, like the layers of the Earth. They've only drilled 7 miles deep, but they know 4,000 miles of data. It's like their theories and hypotheses. If you don't disprove it or it's not proven wrong, over time, that's when it becomes law. But as long as it's disproven, it's still considered valid if you have mathematics to back it. It's the whole pseudoscience thing is a whole nother that he probably is going to include, like outer space and these things like the Earth's layers that they really don't know anything about, but they'll claim they do.
Exactly.
Right, and they shift the burden all the time. Well, like, well, you have to prove us wrong. Well, I can't prove you wrong when you can't prove yourself right.
They either shift the burden or shift the goalposts.
Like, this isn't difficult to understand, and yet you keep calling it science, or they do. You know?
Yeah, they call it science.
Mm-hmm.
And everything, but there are no signs that it's going to run up against a brick wall and stop explaining everything. I think we should first of all be clear what we mean by science, and science is basically a method of discovery based on observation and taking evidence that can be shared publicly and generally, and that is really the core of the scientific method.
I wouldn't say yes to that. That's actually false. Yes, observation is the first part of the scientific method, but it's not about taking it to everybody. It's about testing your hypothesis with experiment to see if your hypothesis holds true.
Yeah.
That's it. So if you see something, you observe something in nature happen, and you're like, I wonder what's causing that, and you come up with a hypothesis to figure out that cause, you have to figure out an experiment that replicates what you've observed to be able to say, okay, this is what caused so-called phenomena. If it didn't happen, well, then you've just validated your null. If it does validate, then you've validated your independent variable, your cause. So the way he's worded it, I would say no, sorry, that's not 100% true. But what he's saying, it is just a method, yes, that's true. You guys have anything else to add to that?
No, I mean, like you said, the first step is observation. But yeah, it would be best based on an observation of natural law, cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
But it's not
like you need a direct observation first, and in many cases they don't.
No, right.
And then even if they don't, they have to have a correct hypothesis in order to experiment with what they actually don't observe.
Yeah.
So
it's backwards. Go ahead.
The component of the scientific method that's important, because the ideas that science generates sit in a network of ideas. So ideas might emerge from biology, they might emerge from physics, chemistry, whatever, psychology, and where they overlap, they are mutually supportive. And this is extraordinarily strong evidence for the appropriateness of science as a means of discovering the truth about the fabric of reality, and indeed all there is. The second part of these introductory comments that I'd like to make is that we have to think about what we mean by the questions that science approaches. And I think there are two classes of question. One is stupid questions, and the other is real questions.
I mean, do you notice?
A lot of this...
Yeah.
Do you notice how he says things like the fabric of reality rather than the nature of reality?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's always the pseudoscience woven in to it, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he was a bit into string theory or something.
Yeah, it sounds like it, doesn't it?
Oh, and it seemed like he was just kind of offhand waving like legitimate questions and calling them stupid.
You see, he's probably... I think he wants to portray that science is superior to religion now.
Right.
So he has to try and word it in a way to show, you know, you're smart if you understand, if you accept science, and you're dumb if you accept religion. I think that's the way he's trying to portray his argument.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ironically, he's describing himself. Religious.
Stupid
Well, it's like, I mean,
questions.
he wouldn't have to. Oh, sorry.
No,
He
good.
wouldn't have to bastardize the actual definition of real science in order to support his belief.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And no, that is absolute hypocrisy. And he's comfortable in it.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Maybe that's too strong a term. A lot of class 1, let me call it, questions have emerged as extrapolations of human angst, worries about the nature of the world, projections of human ideas where they where they are not supported by any evidence. Science deals with real questions. Science deals with questions for which there is evidence. So, whereas a typical religious question might be, what is the purpose of the universe? Science can dismiss that as an irrelevant question. There is no evidence that there is any purpose in the universe. In fact, I think it rather wonderful that there's
You see this, yeah, but you see this again stems back to why we say the heliocentric belief system is not of God, because this whole scientific belief system he's got based on on the universe and everything is we're just here by chance. There's no purpose in life. There is no reason we should even, you know, procreate and go on. It's just the cycle of life. We're just by chance here. A dust speck in the infinite expanding universe. And I think that's such a sad way to go through life.
Yeah, it's kind of like a nihilistic point of view, really, isn't it? Like we're here in futility. We're here by chance, by you know, luck. It just happens, sort of thing. Like you say, no purpose. When indeed there's certainly a purpose. You know?
Exactly.
Indeed, there is.
ordinary collection of galaxies is just hanging there, totally without any purpose whatsoever. I think that's rather grand, frankly, and rather inspiring. So when you ask questions for which there is no evidence, such as that one, what is the purpose of the universe, what is the nature of the afterlife, and all that sort of thing, science need not trouble to try to answer them because they're nonsense questions. Science deals with real questions, questions for which...
Sorry?
They're not nonsense questions, though. From a scientific point of view, yes, but they're not nonsense questions, you know, in general. They're questions that drive people, you know, what, why, you know, what we are for, what's the purpose, you know, so they're not nonsense questions. Maybe from a scientific point of view, it might be, but yeah, in general, no.
Is evidence. And some of these are very deep. And let's not hide them under a bushel. I think one major question is, why is there something rather than nothing? It certainly seems as though there is something. And we presume that before there was something, there was nothing. So it seems to be a real question. And science has as its objective an attempt to answer that kind of question. Another deep question, of course, is the nature of consciousness and all the attributes of consciousness. We appear to have consciousness. There is evidence that
we appear to have consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, wow. There's no doubt about it, you know.
Can you explain what was before the Big Bang?
He said nothing. Like nothing in creating something. It just makes no logical sense whatsoever.
And he would call our side grim.
Right.
Like, but how is his side not like the grimmest you get? Like no purpose, no real purpose in anything.
First there was something, and then first there was nothing, and then there was something. How can that actually happen? That's just ridiculous to even think about.
And so, I mean, has he raised any, real questions as far as what he considers scientific?
That's what he's trying to
Because he would
explain.
call our side, you can just dismiss it.
Yeah, but that's what he's trying to explain now, though.
Okay. Let's hear it.
When he's like trying to say, how the science is compared, you know what I mean? But not that I agree with him, but he's taking it from a naturalistic point of view, and he's kind of showing, yes, that his God is science.
Right.
That's practically just it.
It's his belief.
His belief, yeah.
Right, that he calls evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Good for science to tackle that. And by consciousness, I mean, all the attributes of consciousness, including morality. And so those are real questions. Those are the questions that science can answer. And there is no doubt in my mind that over the past, let's say 300 years, that science has done its job seriously. That is, collecting evidence, setting it in a network of concepts, and seeing the way that they are mutually supportive. I think there's no doubt that over 300 years we have made extraordinary progress, and there is no reason other than pessimism to expect that science will grind to a halt and not answer all the real great questions of existence.
Thank you very much. So an emphatic yes to the idea that in principle science can explain everything that's worth explaining in that sense. So John, same question to you. Can science explain everything?
Well, obviously not.
There we go.
Brexit, for example.
Good answer. Good answer.
There we go.
Good answer.
That's a comical response, but I have actually two more answers to the question. You're going to be surprised at how much I agree with Peter, because the definition of science he offered us, that is collecting evidence, making observations, in fact in his book on being, he reduces it beautifully to making observations and comparing notes. If that's what we mean by science, and it's the old meaning of science before the 19th century, then of course science can explain everything, because the very word explanation means making evidence-based observations and notes. So my short answer is, if we accept Peter's first definition, then I agree with him entirely. Science, by definition, explains everything. But of course, the meaning of the word science has changed in England, but not on the continent. In German, Wissenschaft covers the humanities and the natural sciences. And when people these days say science can explain everything, they're not referring simply to making observations and comparing notes at all. For instance, that would apply to any historical or forensic examination. And my faith as a Christian is based precisely on the kind of scientific reasoning that Peter has set forward to us. The main issue, I think, in discussion today is not whether that kind of evidence-based thinking and observation can come to every conclusion. Let me just say, by the way, that from the Christian perspective, Luke, the writer of the third gospel, tells us that that is exactly what his method was. He consulted people, he made observations, and then he put them together. So,
Yep, that's it. That's exactly.
Right.
Based on
Right.
testimonials.
Yeah, absolutely.
John is actually doing a really good job.
Very good.
Yeah, he always does a very good job.
And
Mhm.
he's right. You would have to include history in that definition of science and
Yes.
stuff like that. If that was the case, yeah, he's right. He's right.
But that's why I say I really did like Mr. John Lennox, because he always has a way of explaining a thing in a very complicated way, very basically for everybody to understand.
Yeah, in layman's terms,
So
absolutely.
yeah, he breaks it down very layman term, but he explains a complicated thing in a very simple manner, like I said, layman term, so everybody can understand what his argument is. And that's, I think,
Yep.
that's a talent he had, for sure. But you can be ruthless sometimes as well when he debates. If you ever go watch some of his debates, he can take some jabs.
We'll call that Science 1. What is, of course, at stake today is the question, can the natural sciences answer every question?
Nope,
And there
cannot.
I think that is simply not the case. The Nobel Prize winner Peter Medawar, many years ago, he wrote a very interesting book on the limits of science. And he said, we do science a disservice, natural science, if we think it can address any questions. And every question. And he referred to the basic questions of Karl Popper, the questions of a child. Where do I come from? Where am I going? What is the meaning of life? Natural science doesn't answer questions like that. And Medawar added it is to religion, philosophy, and so on that we must go to answer those questions. I think science is immensely powerful. It is immensely exciting. And it uncovers a vast amount about our universe. But I have a problem by going too far. I'm a mathematician and I'm rather interested in logic. And you know, if we say that science can explain everything, or science is the only way to truth, as it's often put, well, that is not a statement of science. It's a statement of belief. And so if it's
He hit the nail on the head. It's a statement
on
of
it.
belief.
Right. Right.
Nailed it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, then it's become pseudoscience. So that's exactly what he's pointing out. That's very, very good. I mean, they haven't really got into the debate yet, and he's kind of already
Doing it.
demolishing him.
Hmm.
true, it's false.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I coughed. I didn't say anything. I coughed. Sorry, but
Maybe it's too early in the evening for logic like that, but there's a huge logical problem. So, to sum up my position, science is powerful. Its methodologies are extremely important also in the sphere of history, forensic science, and in the sphere of religion. But I'm going to be careful here, because Peter is right very often in his critique of superstition, of mythology and nonsense. And science has helped to clear away some of the nonsensical things that sometimes religious people profess. But what really makes me, in one sense, very much in favor of the Christian faith is that from the very start it claims to be evidence-based.
Amen.
And the central
Amen.
yeah. Well, even faith, it's the evidence of things unseen.
Hmm.
You know, things hoped for. So I can't remember exactly how it goes in Hebrews.
But
Hebrews
it
1
is-
or Hebrews 11. Hebrews
But
11.
it is definitely evidence-based. I mean,
Yeah.
even outside the Bible, there's so much evidence showing Jesus lived and died and got resurrected again. And that's even outside of the Bible. So the evidence is very, very clear.
Yeah.
piece of evidence is, of course, as you probably know, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So I believe in Peter's methodology. I use it all the time, but somehow he feels that a Christian like me doesn't use that methodology within my own Christian faith. Final point, I think explanation. Can science explain everything? We need to tease out what we mean by the word explanation. For example, the law of gravity doesn't explain gravity. It tells, as Newton realized, it tells us wonderful mathematics that we can calculate the way in which heavy bodies move in relationship to one another. But even when we say science explains, often it doesn't explain comprehensively. And
See, you just heard it. Science does explain gravity, guys.
You'd love to see what evidence, Luca.
But you see,
That's what
but you
happened.
see, you just told us science doesn't explain even gravity comprehensively. It can explain, a path taken, for instance, by two bodies and stuff, but that's it. It doesn't actually give an explanation of what gravity is, how it works, or anything.
Yeah.
It just makes a whole bunch of
absolutely.
assumptions based on belief.
Yeah.
I just want to throw a very simple analogy into this, which I find quite useful. About boiling water. How would you explain boiling water? Well, you can explain it by talking about heat conduction and agitation of molecules of water. You can also say the water is boiling because I'd like a cup of tea. Now, those two explanations are very different. They don't conflict. They complement. One is a scientific explanation, natural scientific, but the other is an explanation in terms of the intention and purposes of an agent. And Peter said quite clearly that science doesn't go in for that kind of purpose, but that doesn't mean that kind of purpose doesn't exist. In fact, people have been enjoying tea for millennia before they knew anything about the theory of heat in physics. So what I want to say is this: the God explanation is different from the science explanation. God no more competes with science as an explanation of the universe than Henry Ford competes with physics as an explanation of the motor car.
Okay, thank you. Great.
Good way of breaking it down.
Brilliant. Exactly. Brilliant way of putting it. Like, science doesn't tell it all, There's something else beyond science, like spiritual, It's great. It's great.
Great introductory
Now they're going to get into the
statements,
debate.
from both of you. I'm sure there's lots you want to respond to there. Peter, where do you want to begin?
Well, there's so much nonsense to hack away from.
This may be the phrase of the
come on.
evening. Yes.
Yeah, let's go to what you called the core of your approach, which is the resurrection of Jesus. Never happened. I mean,
What?
Well, prove it.
Ooh, he's
Prove that
making a
never
big claim
happened.
there now.
Very big claim.
Can't
Well,
prove
that's an
that.
assertion,
that's-
Peter. What
yeah,
about
that's
some
what he
evidence?
says.
well,
Sorry?
Say that to his face.
You just did.
Yeah.
what about some evidence that it did happen, other than people who are writing gospels of 80 years later than the event that they purport to
They
be
weren't all
talking
80
about?
years,
No, of course it didn't happen. How could it happen? And science, I think, could even go so far as saying it simply could not happen. When you've got a dead body, it's decaying straight away. There's no way that it's going to reconstitute in some way. It's absurd. And I accept that it is the foundation of Christian faith. That doesn't mean to say that it's true.
But you see, that's what makes it a miracle. The decomposing body came back to life. I mean, look when Jesus went and he raised Lazarus from the dead. He was already decomposing.
Right. But he
Now,
was
science
saying
can't
about it.
explain this. Science can't explain, okay, how did this person get risen from the dead after he's decomposing? There is no answer to that through science. But through
Right.
God, very easy to explain.
Absolutely. he was saying about just in the books that they were written 80 years after the fact. Yeah, maybe some were, but some were written like 30, 40 years after.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he took like the extreme end of it. You know?
Well, it's like the course he took is basically saying, "Oh, it never happened,"
Right.
but he can't prove that.
And so let's dismiss
McToon
that
is
as
not a
something
Christian.
that simply has no evidence whatsoever of any credible
Before we
nature.
dismiss it, let's hear a response from John, because obviously this is an important issue. What counts as evidence and what are the assumptions?
And indeed,
we make?
I suppose you would argue that science cannot explain the resurrection.
Well,
I wouldn't quite argue that way. I would say that science cannot forbid a resurrection. Because you see, science proceeds.
Good way. Yeah, science cannot forbid the resurrection. Just because your science can't explain it doesn't mean it's not possible.
That's right.
Science
I'm
is very
saying that-
limited as well. I mean, people have to understand the science is only based on nature, of natural laws. And if someone stands up from the dead or getting resurrected, that is supernatural. So it's almost like a Catholic error to try and claim,
Well,
yeah.
no, sorry, no, wait, Stephen. Sorry, I thought you'd finished.
Well, but with Peter, he wants his beliefs to be accepted as scientific evidence, and then he wants to dismiss other beliefs as no evidence at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Very
say,
lopsided.
I wouldn't say McToon's a Christian or a scientist.
On discovering the regularities to which nature works, and has done a very impressive job. And the fact that we know that dead bodies don't normally rise, that is a law of nature in that sense, means that we recognize something very special happened, if it did.
I just want to point out to Mad Mac, yes, although we do have my glasses back on my face. Every time I move, it goes on someone else's face. Although the Bible says we have to live by faith, walk by faith and not by sight, 100% agree. There is a lot of evidence for Jesus' resurrection outside of the Bible too. So if we even look at the fact that the disciples died gruesome deaths for the testimony of Jesus risen from the dead, there's reports from people like Josephus and so forth where they actually talk about people that is interviewed that claim to have seen Jesus after he has risen from the dead, after crucifixion and died. So yeah, there's a lot of evidence for this. If you want evidence, you'll just have to go and look for it, that's all. You can't just expect it to fall on your lap. The unfortunate problem is with a lot of the atheists, they choose to rather ignore it and say it doesn't exist.
It happened. Now, there are two issues here. First of all, there's the in-principle one, which always ends up in talking about David Hume, who said that miracles are violations of the laws of nature. And I do not believe they are. That's point number one, and I can go into that if you like. Do you want me to?
Do you want to believe? Well, we might as well, since you
Yes.
Well, you've got to define a miracle. I think a miracle is defined as something that is against the laws of nature.
But I don't define it like that at all. A miracle, miraculum in Latin simply means something to be wondered at, but we're talking about something supernatural. Now, it seems to me very clear that when Hume said miracles violate the laws of nature, he was really not understanding. And the great interpreter Anthony Flew of David Hume.
No.
Sorry?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think he was going to object to the raising of Anthony Flew.
Oh, well, I'll not raise Anthony
Let's
Flew.
get back to raising
He has
Jesus.
died and hasn't risen. I do, I do see that point. But the point is this. C.S. Lewis long ago told a little analogy. If I stay in a hotel tonight, put £100 in a drawer, and do the same tomorrow night, there are £200 in it. 1 + 1 = 2. If on the third morning I find 50 quid, what do I say? That the laws of arithmetic have been broken, or the laws of England? Clearly, I say the laws of England have been broken. How do I know? Because the laws of arithmetic have not been broken. It's our recognizing of what normally happens that helps us to see an exception. Now, if I were claiming that the body of Jesus rose from the dead by processes, natural processes going on in the grave 5 minutes before we happened, yes, that would be wrong. But
Yep, exactly, because that would be based on the scientific method. But Jesus' resurrection, death and resurrection, is not scientific. It's supernatural. So it's very good the way he's describing it, because he has to be distinct and give a distinction between the two and what the actual natural sciences pertains to. So I think he's doing well on that front. Oh, sorry guys, I'm dying of heat. Sure.
I thought you had a headache or something. It looks like you've got a headache.
No, sorry, it's insane. It was like 48 degrees here today.
Wow.
Dying of heat. It's like I just can't we get like a heat wave going on at the moment.
I'm not claiming that. What Christians claim is that the God that created the universe and built the regularities
Pure
into it
speculation.
is capable.
Pure speculation.
Well,
Wait a
let's
minute.
allow-
No, this
It's
is
not
finish
worth
his point.
listening
this
to.
isn't speculation. Well,
Let's listen and then you respond, Peter.
Peter, it's dead easy to say it's not worth listening to. You tempt me to say that about some of the things you say, but I'm not going to do that, because it seems to me it's very important to listen to what Christianity claims before you judge it. And what is claimed is the God who creates the universe and sustains it is not subject to laws as if they were laws of a land. He set up the regularities.
And this is the same thing we usually say though. God is not bound by natural laws. He created the natural laws. It's the same as saying if someone builds a computer and you create a code for the computer, you're not bound by that computer code. You created it. You're outside of that system. So, and this is the problem we see with atheists. They can't distinguish the fact that God would be an outside agent. He doesn't need to conform to the naturalistic worldview. He's above that naturalistic worldview because he created the nature and the rules that are governing the nature. Why should he be bound by those laws?
And he can feed
Well, of
a
course he
new
ain't.
event.
Yeah?
I was just saying, of course he.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and guys, when I say 48 degrees today Celsius, it was my spray booth. Okay. It was about 42 degrees Celsius here today. Okay, yeah, so gone.
Well, it'll start turning for you. It's gonna start breaking into fall for you soon.
Yeah,
It
sometimes.
should.
Okay, let's see.
Into them. And the claim is, and with this I finish, that God raised Christ from the dead by an input of colossal power.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, you've got it, Peter, in one.
Yeah, it was Jesus.
No, I mean, this
Well,
is...
that is the claim at the end of the day.
But I mean, this is, everyone knows here that's nonsense. What you're inventing is an agent who can do anything he likes, he or she likes, I suppose you have to say these days. And so it is the laziest way of accounting for observations, sometimes observations that were never actually made. Religious explanations which resort to God did it are intellectually lazy. I won't use a stronger term than that, but I do think that they are lazy because, I mean, what does it mean as an explanation? You lie there saying, oh, God did it, and everyone says, oh, I understand now. Religious explanations are easy to accept by the unthinking.
Has you ever thought that maybe the simplest explanations are usually the true explanation?
Yeah.
Just because something is a simple explanation doesn't exactly make it lazy and doesn't make it false either. So he's sitting on a false premise here by saying, well, it's lazy way of thinking God did it, so therefore it's not true. That's a fallacy in itself.
Of course.
Because that doesn't make it false just because it is a simple explanation. And that simple explanation is true because God did make it. God is not bound by the natural law. And we keep bringing this up to the atheists because their naturalistic worldview does violate the laws of nature. The first and second laws of thermodynamics. There's no way around it.
It's like, oh yeah, we didn't see God make creation. Sure. But did they see the Big Bang?
Nope.
No. Like, is there even any real scientific proof for it? No.
No.
No, none.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Science is difficult to accept because it involves a lot of thought. You really have to tease out the processes by which an event occurs. You can't simply say, and God did it. You've got to go through, in biology, you delve down into, if you like, the chemistry of the organism. In chemistry, you delve down into the physics of the underlying processes. And I accept maybe in physics, you have to delve down into the underlying mathematical fabric of whatever I mean by that. It's jolly hard work, and you've got to work on it. But it's more satisfying when you get to the end of an explanation than that extraordinarily lazy way of pretending to explain by saying, and abracadabra, God did it. I mean, that is intellectually corrupt.
Okay.
But, Peter, that's confusing two different kinds of explanations.
Yes, indeed.
If you were to say about a motor car, Henry Ford did it, and that's all you had to say, then I would agree with you. But the point is, as I sit here and read your books and explaining chemistry and all this kind of thing, I say this is wonderful. This is not contradicting the God explanation, because the God explanation is saying that you, as a chemist, only have a universe to study because God created it in the first place. But he's not competing. In fact, interestingly, and this has always been a bit of a mandate for me, the very early chapters of Genesis, God commands human beings to name the animals. He starts off taxonomy, which is the basic intellectual discipline. In other words, he said, you go and do science, and you'll find it utterly fascinating. So I think you're arguing at a straw God and not a straw man.
Can I
Or another straw man. Nice. Okay.
That's a good way of putting it.
I like him. I like this dude.
Oh, yeah. But you can see he's getting under his skin a bit.
Gosh.
He seems very agitated. I don't know if you guys are realizing that.
Seen it from the start. Like, as soon as he passed it over to him, he says, well, yeah, there's so much nonsense there. You know, he was annoyed from the start.
Peter is guilty of the very things he's accusing Christianity of. Hands down.
Absolutely.
He's intellectually lazy as far as just saying, oh, things were created because of a Big Bang, which has never been demonstrated or reproduced in real life.
Never will be. because it's not truth.
That's right.
Yeah.
You don't know whether God was starting off science. He might have got so bored with his creation that he wanted to amuse them. in some
Well, who's
way.
speculating now?
Yeah, I am.
Yes. Okay.
I think any speculation that uses the word God is intellectually corrupt.
I mean,
But this is absurd.
There is no God.
Can I-
There-
That is
no-
absurd. How can you be intellectually corrupt just because you use God? How does it make it intellectually corrupt?
I don't know.
So it's something I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
it
because
seems like he's
there's-
just, sorry. It just seems like he's posturing to act like because we take that route, it is intellectually empty.
Exactly.
Oh, because you have to think more to be like him. And like, no, you just have to stretch your faith more, Mr. Peter.
Exactly.
Or Mr. Atkins, yeah.
There is not one jot of evidence for God.
Oh, I think there's a
In
lot of
lazy-
evidence.
Not one jot of evidence. Ooh, this is where John is going to now obliterate him.
Evidence for
Is there
God.
evidence for God?
Okay, so let me just to summarise.
Yes, please.
Lazy, corrupt, and any mention of God is simply going down that path. Why for you is that not the kind of lazy, corrupt explanations you're
Well,
talking about?
first of all, take science itself. Why am I passionate about science? Why do I believe science can be done? Well, because I believe that in some way the human mind in here has access to the natural world out there. Now, why do I believe that? And sometimes I ask my atheist friends, I've never asked Peter this, but so he's excused, but I have asked many of them. I said, what do you do science with? And they say and they're about to say mind, when they realize it's not politically correct to say mind. They say my brain. And I say, tell me about your brain. And one man who's rather famous, he said to me, do you want the really short answer? I said, sure. My brain's the end product of a mindless, unguided process. So I looked at
One oxymoron. Think about it. I use my brain, which is guided by an unguided nothing. It's just processes, chemical process that just happens. And that's what I use.
Yeah, why are you trusting the brain if that's what it came from?
Yeah. it's quite ridiculous if you think about it.
Yeah.
him and smiled and said, and you trust it? And then I asked this question, which I've asked many times. Suppose you knew your computer was the end product of a mindless, unguided process. Would you trust it? And I've always had the answer, no. And then I say, I see you have a problem. In other words, your atheist materialist stance undermines my trust in the rationality I need to do science. Now, if you flip the coin, modern science exploded in the 16th and 17th centuries, and its pioneers, Galileo, Kepler, Newton, Clerk Maxwell, and so on, were all believers in God, most of them Christian. And the point is, it was their belief in God that didn't hinder their science. It was the motor that drove it. So for two reasons. One, the legitimizing of doing science at all is one of the reasons I believe in God. God as an explanation makes more sense. It has explanatory power. The atheist explanation, as even some atheists like Thomas Nagel these days are beginning to see, undermines confidence and rationality.
So John's argument essentially then, Peter, that the very fact we can do science points to a rational logic
It does.
behind the
Amen. Exactly. And that's why that saying is, at the bottom of every atheist cup, they find God.
Vicky just said that guy who spoke in the middle sounds like Jeremy Kyle. He's a British talk show host, and he got his shows off the air now. But I just heard him talk there, and he does. She's absolutely right. He really, really does sound like Jeremy Kyle. Sorry about that.
I don't
You
know who
probably
that
don't
is, so.
There was a big scandal with him. Somebody went on his show. He did a lie detector on them. It came back that he was lying, and in real life he wasn't lying, and he ended up doing away with himself because of it.
Oh, that's
So the
bad.
show was taken down. Yeah.
Universe
Yeah.
behind our ability to understand it that is I suppose fits better with the idea of a God
Yeah,
behind
that's what
a
I'm
mind
saying.
rather than the idea that this all is by chance. It's a random
Yeah,
accident.
for lazy minds, that's certainly true. The trouble is that the philosophers are pessimists, basically, because they get paid to doubt, and they doubt the capacity of human understanding. The scientists are optimists. They think that given time, given collaboration, hugely important, they will arrive at explanations that do not require the insertion of words like God. God is no more than a word, frankly, which is used to describe.
It's a title.
Wow, it's no more than a word.
It's a title. God is a title, and yes, it's a title of His magnificence, glory. But you see, he's trying to downplay. How can I put it? He's trying to downplay everything that's got to. I don't know. Have you actually heard an argument from him yet?
No.
I haven't. All I'm hearing is no one can use God. If you use God, you're just stupid. It's a lazy way of thinking. But I haven't seen him actually give a reason why you can't use God.
Oh, right. No, it's like earlier he was like, oh, science addresses real questions, but they get to dismiss ours. But yet he hasn't brought a real question that he heralds or claims to address.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
Like, show me this question, please. Or go ahead.
But I mean, he's making a whole bunch of statements, but he's not really backing them up with claims. He's not giving an actual distinct reason why you can't use God. I mean, just saying, every time you use God is just a lazy way of thinking. That's not an argument.
No, that's incredulity coming from your side, his side, and to reduce God to just a word is beyond a joke. I mean, that's his way of trying to mock God. I think.
Yeah. It's kind of making him into a Karen. They're angry, but they
Right.
don't know why they're angry.
Right.
To comprehend something.
Oh, go ahead.
So theologians obfuscate. We've heard that in good measure this evening, if I may say so. While theologians obfuscate, scientists illuminate. And we are showing that
Never had it
somehow
said
or
that
other,
way.
through
Obfuscate.
I've never had it said that way before.
Me neither.
Obfuscate.
Obfuscate. We should say it that way from now on. Don't you go and obfuscate.
Obfuscate.
evolution, only through evolution, we have developed brains which are capable of extraordinary understanding. Now, if I can take a moment just to wrap a warning
Oh, this
around
is just
that
desperate.
at the moment. Do we have brains that are big enough to understand absolutely everything? And it's a legitimate question. Or are we, like a dog in a room, which a dog could not understand classical physics, although we humans think we can understand classical physics. But we have to confront the possibility that our brains are not strong enough to understand absolutely everything. And I think we might even be
I would agree with that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Moving
Absolutely.
He must have it.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, he must have a small brain because he don't understand that God, nobody will ever be smarter than God. He thinks that computers, that science is led way, that man is God. They know all the answers. That's what we're playing out, is that they know all the answers. Science knows all the answers. They have all the answers. They're God, basically.
It's a form of making themselves their own gods.
Yeah.
Whereas Scripture will tell us, like, even the foolishness of God is greater than all human wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
As if God really has foolishness, but I'm pretty sure Paul was just being endearing.
But there's different kinds of understanding, as John was saying, but of a different kind from what John was saying. Take quantum mechanics. You can formulate equations in quantum mechanics and solve them to an extraordinary degree of precision. But there are aspects of quantum mechanics, like quantum entanglement and so on, which we might never be able to understand, because we humans have been brought up in a world of classical events. Usually, I mean, as we dropped from the trees, we found that the world was largely classical. So in the 20th century,
I don't think he really knows what he's saying himself.
When we drop from trees. Yeah. Okay. No.
It's almost like he's trying to make a case that everybody's just dumb, full stop.
Yeah. It becomes an amalgamation of word salad of things and arguments he's used before. Mm-hmm. So it's just all coming to his mind, and it's just like, blah, speak that.
I mean, so is there a point with Peter here? What makes him not dumb?
I don't know.
If I may ask?
We're still trying to figure out what's going on. Because he's not really, I mean, half an hour chat, and he still hasn't really given an argument other than, no, you can't use God because I say so.
Right, yeah.
He hasn't really given a legitimate reason why you can't use God.
Yeah, and he's so dependent on this brain of his that derives from an accident.
Well, it's like he hasn't given a legitimate reason why we should believe him either.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
All right, go ahead.
First century that we've discovered the quantum behavior of this extraordinary kind. Now, it might well be that our brains simply are not equipped to understand the quantum phenomena that we are discovering. But we can still do the equations. We can still solve it to arbitrary precision. I think that means that we, in a sense, have understood the fabric of reality, let's put it that way, even though we can't intuit the fabric of reality, because our brains are constructed classically and not quantum mechanically. So I agree that there may be limitations to our understanding, but they are understanding of that kind.
I have no difficulty with that, because the one thing I would never say is quantum mechanics is extremely difficult. I don't understand quantum entanglement, therefore God did it. I would never.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah, there is no end to their quantum stuff either. Like outer space, it just goes forever. Same with quantum. I thought the atom was now they go down to
both directions. You know, from the big expansion to the quantum. You know, it's like a small universe, big universe, mental.
Yeah, now they say the electrons made of quarks, and then the quarks will be made out of something that it'll never end.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They always use like the God of gaps argument at the end of the day. So everything, if they can't explain it really, then they have to make up a new type of math for it. And that's why they're sitting with dark matter today. Because it goes totally, completely against their theory. I mean, how can we have a massless object having things attracted to it? How's there a gravitational pull if there's no mass?
Right.
Yeah, they're trying to define this free space. Like as you go out of the atmosphere, past the Kármán line, what they call outer space, there's all this free space in between these gas molecules or whatever, and it keeps getting greater and greater, and they just call it black matter or something.
Dark
That's
matter.
what the free space is.
Yeah,
It's
dark
all the
matter.
way dark matter. Then the dark matter must exist here on Earth, according to that stuff. So yeah, anyway, it don't make no sense. They're trying to come up.
Just to say that this light gets blocked by something and we don't know what it is, so it's got to be dark matter. It's ridiculous. You know? Stupid. You don't know what it is, so we'll call it dark matter. Nice.
And the postulation from Peter is he is insinuating that his belief-based evidence doesn't need belief.
Right.
And that's what he's driving towards. Yeah, go ahead.
Dream of reacting like that, because trying to understand quantum entanglement, that is the job of science, that is the job of physics, and you keep going, as you suggest, until you run out of brain power. You see, God answers a different kind of question which spurs science on, it doesn't inhibit it.
No.
But now, Peter, one little question to you.
I think this is very important.
Ooh.
That science is a motivation. God is a motivation for science.
A motivation.
A motivation for science. And I think we ought to spend a moment
Okay.
on that. I think God is also a great motivation for art as well.
Yes.
Wonderful pictures, wonderful music, wonderful literature, all induced by belief in God. But it doesn't mean that the God actually exists. It simply means that you believe that he exists.
So I was going to say that the very book you wrote, the statement you use at the beginning is, I think, from Bacon, and who was, of course, a believer.
Yeah, well, they all were in those days.
So is that...
They all were in those days.
All right, just flip it. They were all nothing to do with that. They really did believe or whatever. You know, it's they just called themselves Christian. Yeah.
Well, you're saying that in a sense, whatever John says about the religious sort of faith of the pioneers of science, it was just the nature of things.
To them it was real, and indeed it did motivate their excellent work and inspiring work in some cases, and certainly in the humanities. But it doesn't mean to say it's true.
Of course not.
No, so you don't.
But what's the point you're making then if you're not saying that shows that it's true, John?
The point is it doesn't show it's false. And your little comment there was they all believed in God in those days is also false. Because it's very interesting when you think of the rise of modern science in Western Europe. I've mentioned that. But it was Richard Dawkins put this to me years ago in one of our debates, and I made the point which I now make. Everybody
And he
didn't-
totally ripped Richard Dawkins apart, by the way.
This is where I know him from, man. Because when you said no, I didn't recognize him. But when I heard his voice, I recognized the voice. It must be from when he spoke to Dawkins.
Yeah, and he ripped Dawkins apart.
No, well, I think anybody could. Dawkins just sounds intelligent, but when you listen to what he's saying,
Cultural
he's
Christian.
totally-
He was a cultural
And-
Christian.
and then he professes to know what the Old Testament and that says, and if you check what he says about it, it's crap. It doesn't say anything like that.
Yeah.
Huh?
But look, at the end of the day, all these atheists, even the PhD atheists and stuff, they have to kind of misrepresent things, and they have to pull at straws to make an argument. Because they don't really have anything substantial. You know what I mean?
Didn't someone write a book called the Dawkins Delusion or the Dawkins Delusion or something?
Mm-hmm.
The God Delusion, didn't he?
Dawkins wrote God Delusion.
Yeah, the God Delusion. But
He
I
wrote
think
that.
someone
Mocked him.
counteracted him and wrote a book against him called the Dawkins Delusion or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Believe in God in those days. The Chinese didn't. And there was very interesting research done by Joseph Needham in Cambridge. He was a brilliant sinologist, also a chemist, I believe. And he did research and wrote the huge volume, many volumes of the Dictionary of Technological Achievements in China. And he was very puzzled why abstract science of the kind we know did not arise in China. Now, he was a neo-Marxist, and he tried to explain this on the basis of his atheistic Marxism, but he couldn't. And in the end, he came to a fascinating conclusion. He said, in the end, the only difference I can see between the East and the West, they discovered technology, but not science in that sense, is that the East did not have the unifying concept of a single rational creator who created the universe to work in such.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Exactly.
well said.
But it doesn't mean to say that if you have that having the idea that there is one is not the same as there being one. So,
But Peter, that's obvious. The thing is, it doesn't make it false, but it's part of the cumulative evidence for explanatory power, because in most of these areas we're making inferences to the best explanation. And an explanation that makes sense to me, that is that the reason we can do science is the God who created the universe also stands behind the human mind. That makes much more sense than a reason that says we're simply the random product of unguided processes.
I want to talk about reasons, because you've both...
Amen.
Right. It makes a lot more sense.
See, he talks in a very logical way. That's what I liked about him.
That's it. That's it.
He takes what they say and then logically breaks it down how it's fallacious.
Mate.
We've brought this up, and explanations, different types of questions that we ask. Peter, you've said there are sort of nonsense questions that we simply shouldn't be asking because they're not the kind of questions we should be pursuing, like,
Why?
is there a purpose to the universe? John, from what I can tell, you believe those are valid questions because they are, even if they're of a different nature to the specifically
Purpose
scientific
questions and intention questions are among the most important questions we can ask.
And I've had a question actually from the audience which asks, I assume of you, Peter, isn't it a bit too convenient to label questions that science doesn't answer as stupid or not real?
Well, it seems very sensible.
Mm-hmm. See, even the audience used to ask him out about that.
Right.
Well, it's like by default, him not answering very important questions, by default says that his version of science can't explain everything.
Exactly.
And yet that's the position he's taking. Oh, yes, we can, but no, they can't.
Mm-hmm.
Clear the way so that you can have a sensible conversation about real questions.
But why is the question of what are we here for not a real question in your view?
Because there's no evidence that there is any purpose in the universe. You've got to look for evidence. And as I actually did say right at the beginning, I think, that the real questions are based on evidence. The silly questions, the fake questions, if you like, are based on
Fake
extrapolations
questions.
of...
What's a fake question?
You see, the thing is, it doesn't matter what questions is going to be asked. He'll always move the goalpost and then just claim, no, that doesn't work, because his whole theology and worldview is based upon God is a waste of time. God is just a band-aid for all things that can't be answered. without
Yeah.
realizing he's being a hypocrite, because
Yeah.
that's
Big
exactly
time.
what he
Right.
is implying with all his arguments.
And the things that science don't answer is irrelevant to him, which is silly.
Yeah, he just
Well,
throws
it's
it away.
version of science, which is not real science.
No, of course,
Mhm.
of course.
And then he just throws it away.
So yeah, he's not explaining anything by dismissing things. Not meaningfully, not provably.
Hmm.
Human experience, if you like.
What a lazy
So
person. Yeah, sorry. go on.
we have purposes. I have a purpose for coming here this evening, although I must confess I forget what it was.
So you believe in purpose but not ultimate purpose, is that it?
Well,
Not
I
weird.
believe that people have individual, temporary, ephemeral purposes. That's fine. But for there to be a purpose in the universe is an extrapolation of that attitude. There is no evidence that the universe has a purpose at all. So
Oh, really? Can he explain how, just by chance, all this that we know of came into existence without having a purpose?
No.
Not at all.
I mean,
What a cop out.
yeah, I mean, can you see anything in observable reality that does not have a purpose?
If anything,
Every single thing
what
has a purpose. Even a virus, even a virus has a purpose.
Absolutely.
everything we see and experience has purpose.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he's like, oh no, there's no purpose.
So when he comes and he says you can't observe things like this, then that's just nonsense. Because he can't show one thing that we observe that doesn't have a purpose.
Correct.
Right. Right.
It's inappropriate for science to do a series of experiments to discover the purpose.
John.
Well, when you say there's no evidence, I would go back to the fact, and I must, in that sense, come back to my Christian faith. Christianity is not a mere philosophy. It's geared into history. And it seems to me that the whole initial explanation, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, that starts off a huge meta-narrative that gives human beings huge significance as made in the image of God.
Amen.
Now, that may be true.
He's just shaking his head. You see, he can't get over it. He can't get past that he's not going to be able to.
Well, that's it. The message, the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to those who are somewhat saved, it is the power of God.
Only a fool says in his heart, there is no God.
Absolutely.
May be false, but does it make sense? It's not one of these nonsense things. It certainly makes a great deal of sense. And incidentally, some of the brightest minds in history have spent years thinking about these things.
I've just read through Anthony Kenner's Modern History of Western,
Yes.
great 1,000-page
Yeah, I know.
brick.
I've read it too.
900 of those pages show what a waste of time philosophy was when people were worrying about the nature of God and his or her
See, now it's just a waste of time because they were all philosophizing God. Now it's a waste of time.
Oh my goodness.
properties. Philosophy, just famous St. Augustine, Thomas Aquinas, you name them, completely wasted their lives by thinking about non-questions. It's only when...
But that's your belief.
Who says they wasted the lives,
he
though?
says-
You say they wasted the life.
Yeah, he just says.
You say that under your standards they wasted their life. Maybe not their standards, though, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so according to him, it's a waste. But that doesn't make it a waste.
No.
And also, if I may point out, it's like for me, Peter would probably call me like, "Oh, you're a cultural Christian" or something like that, because I went to Sunday school a few times a year, or you went to church, like for Christmas or Easter, whatever. But the point is, I was also slammed with atheism and Big Bangism and evolution for years. 12 years, in fact, 5 days a week.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. It was weird because I'd go to primary school and we'd do the Lord's Prayer. And then they'd start learning about cavemen and evolution and stuff like that.
Yep. 5 days a week, like without fail.
Right.
And yet he'll still call me a cultural Christian while his atheism and disbelief was slamming me all the time.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, well, for lack of a better word. Excuse me. Go ahead.
Crazy. It's actually sad because I was hoping more from this debate. So I do apologize, guys, because at the moment the atheist is just literally just saying nah every single time. He's not giving anything of substance to this debate. And
I mean, I'm still waiting for the real question that he heralds to answer.
I don't think he will, because he's just answering every single thing exactly the same way, just wording it differently.
It's dismissal.
Yeah, he's just dismissing it plain out because he feels it's a waste of time. Then why is he there to debate?
Well, that's it.
And it's like, if you're so intellectual, stop basing things on your feelings, Mr. Atkins.
Yeah, I mean, he's supposed to be basing everything on science. So
And he's not.
why is he basing it on his opinions?
Yeah. I
His
mean,
philosophy, his belief-based philosophy,
Corner.
actually proves something.
And the fact is that because he can't answer any of these things shows his whole argument falls flat. There is nothing. It's the argument that science explains everything, shown debunked. It cannot. Because he's failing to answer simple questions.
I mean, if it wasn't for Professor John Lennox yourself, this would be it's a one-sided debate, but if it wasn't for Professor Lennox, it'd be a one-sided conversation. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah, but there's no evidence for God is the basis of that's the core of my belief. That's what we're talking
No
about.
evidence for God.
But is that an assumption you're coming to it with, Peter?
Let me say, there is no evidence for God. That is the rock on which I build my system of explanation.
Well, it's very unsteady.
He actually is quoting from the Bible.
Yes, isn't that mad?
Wait.
Isn't that mad that he's getting his parable kind of his metaphor from scripture?
I mean, did I hear him right? He said that not believing in God is the core of his belief.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's literally a belief system. I'm glad he realizes that atheism is a religion then.
Or was it not? You can't prove God. You can't prove God. There's no proof of God is the core of his belief. I think he was saying.
Well, it's like there's no proof of something coming from nothing. So it's like he has nothing to stand on. He never has.
I rewinded a few seconds back when
About.
But is that an assumption you're coming to it with, Peter?
Let me say, there is no evidence for God. That is the rock on which I build.
There's no evidence for God.
And that's the rock on which he built his
Belief system.
Well, it's a very unsteady
His
rock.
belief is based on there's no evidence for God.
And
His belief.
His belief.
Him, on the other hand, his religion is so extreme, he's just going to hand wave